Welcome to the SDGs Lead, a series of conversations with prominent change makers and innovators worldwide. My name is Karina Radchenko. Today I have a deep honor and pleasure to talk with Matthew James Bailey, world leading thinker and innovator, author, entrepreneur from the United States, co-founder of the Colorado Smart Cities Alliance, founder and CEO of the AI Ethics Vault, guest lecturer at Cambridge University, board member of the Alberta Research and Innovation Authority of Canada, co-chair of the very powerful Smart Cities projects. He has been working with the Fortune 500 company and advising on smart cities, Internet of Things, and AI. Thank you so much for joining. It's really deep honor.
It's great to be here, Karina. Thank you.
So to proceed with, today our topic in particular is artificial intelligence, ethics, and smart cities. Let us probably start with your very, very insightful book, which I really enjoyed reading it, and it's very comprehensive, which is called Inventing the Vault 3.0, Evolutionary Ethics for Artificial Intelligence. Your book introduces the new paradigm of innovating thinking, laying the grounds for our future and current cooperation with the machines to build this kind of partnership in terms of our interactions. Could you please briefly share your approach, which is really multidimensional, and how the robust security system for robots should look like?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning the book. It's a world-leading guide. I've been planning this for 10 years after leading the IoT revolution, the smart city revolution, and now moving on to artificial intelligence. I already knew this was my destiny. Inventing World 3.0, Evolutionary Ethics for Artificial Intelligence, is an advancement of Darwin's understanding that he's given to us on the theory of evolution of the human species and living species. It's a paradigm shift in how do we make an evolutionary step with the digital world and data, artificial intelligence and humanity into an ethical centric singularity to move forward into our future in partnership and harmony. The foreword is written by a wonderful friend of mine who's an AI genius called Katlin, who leads AI at Intel. And the book is in 5 parts. First of all is we look at 3 world realities: World 1.0, which is today; World 2.0, which is a transitional piece; and World 3.0, where we have artificial intelligence and humanity working together in a common ethical foundation and singularity. And so if we check into World 1.0 today, it's kind of looking at how well are we doing. Well, we have the problems. We have 17 sustainable development goals, don't we? 17 SDGs. And that's reflecting just how well or not well we're doing as a society. And if we look at other challenges, such as human living and 55% of the population living in urban and city areas, human living itself is putting huge pressure on government resources, on public services, on resources such as water and energy and things like that. So we have some real problems. And so the question is, how do we leap beyond those challenges? How do we bring artificial intelligence or liberate it and awaken its mindset in an ethical understanding to solve these problems that we have today, so we can leap beyond the challenges of the 17 SDGs and moving to a legacy and a foundation where we're moving forward, liberated from these challenges into quite an exciting future. So we look at conditions in World 1.0 today, and then we look at how we change those world conditions into enablement of World 3.0. And so things like a green nation is very much prominent in World 3.0, where we found a partnership with our environment. We each have a personalized artificial intelligence that helps us to self-actualize as an individual and as a human species. Artificial intelligence is honoring cultures and all the diversity we have in societies around the world, so our cultures are thriving. And it also is about democratizing innovation and empowering innovation with people like yourself, who are the innovators of the new tomorrow, World 3.0, empowering you to be able to innovate those solutions that we need to move into the future. And then we check into the second part, which is data and the digital world is an extension of the human sovereignty. And so how well are we doing now? If data, which trains artificial intelligence, is to be ethical, and artificial intelligence itself, its mindset is to be ethical, then we need to ensure that the data and AI itself is ethical. And so the book reveals world first Alan Turing-like tests. People will have heard of Alan Turing, who invented the Turing test to validate whether a computer is responding like a human. These are brand new tests in order for us to rank and classify and certify the ethical quality of artificial intelligence and to measure its ethical quality. And that allows us to see where are we today and what we need to do better. And it's a whole opportunity for businesses and government and entrepreneurs to innovate new policy, new forms of artificial intelligence that are ethical based. So we bring the data world and artificial intelligence into an ethical paradigm. The next thing is where we look at culture. Culture is so important, Karina. You have a personal culture. The people listening have a personal culture. We also have tribal cultures, family cultures, national cultures, spiritual cultures, other types of cultures. And so it's really important that culture is in the fundamental mindset of artificial intelligence, so it honors those cultures and doesn't oppress them subtly or overtly. So we look at a brand new model for artificial intelligence, and this enables the general public to start to design the frameworks for artificial intelligence, where we look at the power of three, a model that's a triangle. Now, what we're doing here is something that is based on universal principles, Karina. An atom is based on three things at a top level: a neutron, a proton, and an electron. So having the power of three works in matter, in everything, right? Your seat, your bookcase, your clothes, it's in everything, right? You and I. So having a three model, a power of three model, enables us to duplicate what the universe does for matter to create an ethical matter for artificial intelligence. So what are these three things? The first thing is putting in principles around our environment, reducing carbon emissions, sustainability, regeneration. We can put cultural principles around our desires for the environment into artificial intelligence. We look at cultures, macro culture, personal culture, spiritual cultures. We can put those into artificial intelligence. And then we look at sovereignty, which is really important so that we honor the human sovereignty. And then the second part of the triangle is our humanity. So I talk about Aristotle's ethical virtues and add one more of my own: compassion, such as justice, wittiness, friendliness, magnanimity of soul, liberality. And so artificial intelligence, if it's to work with the human species, should understand the best of our humanity in order for it to support that in how it delivers services. And it could enable us to move beyond programming that we've inherited in the human experience. And then the third bit of the triangle is the context of artificial intelligence and its application in society. So artificial intelligence will have different types of mandates. It will, maybe if it's doing cybersecurity in our grids, it needs a particular type of mandates around cybersecurity. If it's doing transportation to optimize and reduce traffic congestion or optimize traffic flow, then it will have another set of mandates. So this is a triangle, what I call the power of three, that allows us to put culture into artificial intelligence. And what I reveal are new digital genetics for artificial intelligence based on the human DNA. So we have 3 billion base pairs that formulate that create our organic expression, our color of our eyes, the color of our hair, whether we have 2 ears or not. And so what we can do is put cultural principles or ethics into this new DNA genetic structure for artificial intelligence, so it itself is ethically founded and has ethical base pairs within it, so that whenever it's operating in society, it's operating ethical, but also is configurable for your personalization of your ethics, because they're different at a personal level. Personalization at a national level, because they subtly are different. Personalization for things like the Navajo, the Native Americans, or all the different types of tribes as well. So what we're doing is we're allowing artificial intelligence to be literally subtly aware at a profound level of personal culture and macro culture. And this is important. It's a whole new field of artificial intelligence. And then finally, we look at COVID, how this new artificial intelligence called evolutionary AI compares to creating pandemic resilient societies to artificial intelligence today. And we look at how well the new artificial intelligence does compared to AI of today. And of course, it does so much better. Everybody has a personalized AI. We have well-being, mental well-being, we're eating good food, we're exercising well, we've got a great social circle, we're working in jobs where our gifts are being honored. And then finally, we close with some guidelines for businesses, nations, organizations, academia, and students to innovate the future, and also explain how the computing infrastructure is going to support the future of artificial intelligence. So what we have to do now, Karina, is get our ethics right with artificial intelligence as it develops at lightning speed, so that all the progeny of artificial intelligence have this ethical foundation. It's fundamental. So this is a great guide for innovators. It should be standard reading in all universities, because you folks are the innovators of the new tomorrow. It really is a guide for nations and organizations into a new world reality.
It's just great how you've put it all together in terms of a very comprehensive manner, and how historical paradigm, for instance, of the Nicomachean ethics can be implemented today for guiding our future. It's very important to draw these lines and very multidimensional aspects. You've mentioned a partnership in various forms, not the least partnership between humans as our ethical interactions, partnerships with the environment, artificial intelligence, and many other aspects. So how to liberate this concept, and what is the role to be played by the so-called quadruple helix model: universities, businesses, government, and citizens. And also I wonder if you could elaborate from the point of responsibility of those who are leading innovations, big IT companies. As I know, you've been interacting and exchanging ideas with the leading thinkers, not the least Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple. So from this perspective, how these companies should make this push for our better future and more technological advancement?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all is that all nations and organizations have to have an artificial intelligence strategy. This is not going away, and this is going to change every aspect of human living and society. So having an AI strategy and an AI ethics strategy is really, really important. At the moment, artificial intelligence is not awakened. And what do I mean by that? It has no ethical principles embodied within it, or is not beholden to ethical principles. So it's locked in its prison, Karina. And so ethics liberate artificial intelligence for it to do well in society and do well for people, and to honor human values, honor human cultures. This is really important. Now, the other thing is we need to cater for diversity. So at the moment, Karina, we're in a 3-world split. China have their approach to artificial intelligence based on their cultural mandates. The European Union this week have just announced the first regulation for artificial intelligence for the European Union territories. And that may change the entire landscape of social media. It probably will. And the US has it as kind of a lackadaisical approach to artificial intelligence. There is no real quality measurement. So we have 3 different types of approaches to artificial intelligence in this 3-world split. And we need to cater for that diversity, Karina. It's really important. We don't oppress anybody, but we need to stand up for what we believe is right. And so putting democracy and values around democracy into artificial intelligence is important for democratic countries like the European Union, United States, sorry, democratic territories like the European Union, United States, and others. And so diversity should absolutely be honoured by artificial intelligence. And so the key thing is that ethics is the human framework in which we take an evolutionary step together where artificial intelligence aligns with those ethics. Humanity itself has to align with those ethics, and then we can move forward. You see, Karina, artificial intelligence is a mirror back to humanity. It's a mirror back to saying, are we being ethical in the way we live? Are we operating in a justice way? Are we being operating in greatness of soul? It's a reflection back to what bits of our humanity are we doing well in, and which bits of our humanity do we need to change? And this is really, really important. So what we're starting to see, Karina, is that a liberation of artificial intelligence by the European Union, where they've got these new laws to classify 4 different aspects of artificial intelligence, all the way from high risk to no risk. And so we're starting to see that. And also in Washington State in the US, they're doing what I predicted in the book, and I'm going to be writing a lot more about this, is that they've effectively put digital border control on their state. For any facial recognition artificial intelligence has to pass a digital citizen test to ensure that facial recognition complies with the cultures, the ethics, the values and diversity of their citizens. So the book's predicted all this, and it explains the frameworks of how states, nations, and even the European Union can start putting border control around artificial intelligence to ensure that only those that comply with its ethical principles, cultures, and values can exist within the society, at which point then we're starting to see artificial intelligence align with the cultures of those jurisdictions and those citizens. And so humanity and AI themselves are starting to move forward together in partnership.
You've mentioned the European Union recent achievements. It's very interesting to trace. Even a year ago, it was a white paper, like a kind of soft law, and now they're moving to regulation very similar to GDPR, with enormous sanctions for not following and fines for breaking it. So here, do you think that these current standards, which are evolving, this trend, will help us to minimize this risk? Is it enough, or we still have to search for the new formula?
Well, we need to do better. So GDPR is a start, but it wouldn't pass all the Alan Turing-like tests for ethical artificial intelligence. It would fail, or it would score low on a number of things. And that's because I believe we need to recognize, Karina, that all the data we generate in our life is an extension of our sovereignty. And so Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the World Wide Web, is talking about a new internet where we have user agency, i.e. we control the sovereignty of our data and how it's being used within government and business. And so we do need to do better. GDPR is a good start, and Washington State, I think, have gone further than GDPR in data privacy, but we need to go much further. And this is the conversation of the decade, Karina, is around how do we shape a beneficial future for artificial intelligence where it does well with humanity at a global level and also at a personal level, in order for us all to move forward in meaning and purpose. So GDPR is a great start. We need to do better because it will fail the Alan Turing-like test for ethical AI, but we're on the right road. And this is exciting. It's really exciting. And it'll be interesting to see what the United States do, because they're now behind on certain aspects of artificial intelligence, although they're in a very strong position still as a global superpower in AI.
Keeping in mind that we have very exponential growth of technology over the past decade and several decades as well. I know that Bill Gates, supposedly this phrase belongs to him. In 1981, he said that about 600 kilobytes will be great to everyone. But in fact, now it's less than one picture. Which we daily send. So it shows how hard to predict and this uncertainty exists. From this pace, very rapid of development of technology in comparison to our evolution as human beings in terms of education, compassion towards each other, as we are still waging wars, and there are some unethical behaviors of human beings themselves. Do you think that there is a gap between the pace of technological advancement and human development? How to overcome this gap, keeping in mind this exponential growth?
So that's a really good question. We generate globally about 2.5 quintillion bytes a day, and that's only going to get bigger. So this is a great question. The book talks about this. It talks about an evolutionary mindset. So World 1.0 today is an industrial mindset, right? Which is really about profit. An evolutionary mindset is about people, planet, and profit all doing really well. It's a new measure for economies and businesses and societies doing well. Thanks to the Industrial Revolution, we have the 17 Sustainability Development Goals. And that's a really strong reflection that we need a new maturity in our leadership, a new maturity in our mindset, and a new understanding that humanity has a destiny, and we need to be able to understand that and operate in that mature or evolutionary mindset. When we do that, we become liberated from lineage and paradigms of the past to be able to be free to innovate a new future and a new reality for humanity, where it is about the planet doing well, people doing well, and also new economies. And I believe that ethical artificial intelligence or evolutionary AI, or what I outline in the book, will create a brand new multi-trillion-dollar global economy, because we've taken one step back, but 10 steps forward. And that's important. So yes, we do need a new mindset, because what we're clearly seeing is that mindset today, the industrial mindset, is not working. We need an evolutionary mindset, a new maturity to the purpose of the human experience within the universe, and a new understanding of our destiny, because we have a great destiny, Karina, if we choose well.
Actually, wonderful words. So if we choose well, so it's for human beings today to decide what future we want to live in, and how to facilitate this future through changing ourselves today. I'm just reminded of the statement by Kant, a German philosopher, act as though your own values would be the values of the whole planet. So probably if we follow these principles on the individual level, we could avoid many challenges. And the concept of the fair society is vitally important in terms of artificial intelligence. How to ensure that we are not replicating these biases and stereotypes of our very non-perfect societies sometimes. So we take the very best and enroute this into the new world.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what that's the opportunity. The opportunity is for human development. So if artificial intelligence has digital genetics or base pairs that are there to support everyone doing well, to understand their culture, to protect their sovereignty, to honor their values, and to support personal growth, then we're onto something really interesting here. And so, you know, I believe that, and it's not just a belief, it's a knowing, that artificial intelligence, if we have the right mindset, can help us to move beyond these SDGs within the next decade. I really do believe that. I believe it can be deployed if we have the right intent and start to invest sensibly. You know, the soul of any business, the soul of any nation is, where are they investing? and what is the point of that investment? And so we can leap beyond these challenges so long as we liberate AI to start to solve these problems, recognizing that we have a responsibility for the generations to come in order for them to do well. And it's not just about today.
Whether we can find the ethics that works for everyone. You've mentioned an aspect of personalization, how it should be viewed and how we can use this personalization principle.
Yes, so this is really important. So ethics is primarily a Western civilization philosophy, right? But we have the Vedas. That is probably the oldest one of the oldest kind of guides that we have coming out of India. And the Vedas talk about we are one family. Well, that talks about inclusivity. It has ethical principles associated. It has intent associated with it. So what we need is an understanding that there's probably a common platform for ethics, probably a common constitution that we might have globally or certainly within democracies, such as trust, such as justice, ambition, fairness, liberality. But at a national level or a community level or a spiritual tradition level or at a personal level, there'll be subtle nuances of trust and justice, ambition based on the mandates of those particular cultures, but also in any one moment, and also based on our diversity. So the ethics themselves need an agility to adapt, if AI is to do well, to any circumstance and any single person, knowing the depth of their culture and their diversity and supporting them doing well in their life. Now, this is a brand new field of artificial intelligence, right? It's a huge opportunity for innovation, but this is where we need to head, Karina, is that artificial intelligence can become a beneficial intelligence, but it has to do well for everyone. And in order for it to do well for everyone, it needs a depth of understanding the personal kind of culture of the individual. So we do need diversity in ethics, because naturally they are different based on the individual and based on communities, traditions, and tribes and beliefs as well.
It's very fascinating how here again we return to the points of ancient times. You mentioned Veda that have proclaimed very vital principles to the coexistence of human societies. But for some time, for some periods of Western histories, they were just unknown. And how here today we can proceed with technologies which were mainly associated with the Western world and the Eastern world, which was primarily based on religious worldview, not even religious, some kind of spirituality, which is win-win for everyone. And here, what approaches to regulating robotics, robots in particular, do you see as promising? Because some people say we could even return to Roman Empire, where then had slaves, some kind of this form, or it would be animated objects or e-citizens as already viewed for some kind of social robots by the European Commission. What is your opinion on that, and what formula would be working, at least for now?
Yeah, so just winding back quickly before we get to robots, is that, Karina, you and I are quantum technology, right? Over hundreds of millions, well, millions and millions of years of evolution, right? We've become a quantum technology within a universal creation. So what we're learning, just a moment, it's my Alexa. What we're learning is that we're learning a maturity to create. And the question is, will we create well? Will we not create well? And I believe we're being offered as a human species the choice to create well. And that's going to show in how well we do in artificial intelligence and how well it does in our societies and moving us into a new world reality. When it comes to robots, the key thing to understand here is artificial intelligence is prevalent throughout your life. Every listener's life, it's already there, right? And It's in your Alexa, it's in your Siri, it's in your, probably in your modern car, it's in your telecommunication grids, it'll be in your healthcare services. It's literally everywhere, right? In shopping, retail, it's literally everywhere. Now, robots are a physical, if you like, a physical experience of an artificial intelligence. And robots will probably do well in healthcare for the elderly, probably, although we need to know whether they're going to be accepted. They'll probably be useful in making spaces, places free of COVID-19 to ensure they're being cleaned out and are safe to go into. They'll, you know, with cars, you drive a car, that's a robot, and that's all going to be automated, right? So we're going to be sitting inside robots in the future as we're moving at lightning speed in congestion. Drones themselves are robots. We're already starting to see the military, you know, the Chinese have a kamikaze robot plane, that kind of AI driven, that goes and crashes into something and blows it up. So robots are still finding their way here. We have Sophia, which is a citizen in Saudi Arabia, actually. But this is a really dumb technology, although it's moved a long way. There's no doubt about it. And Hanson Robotics have done a marvelous job, but it's still very early stage. So in terms of robots being in society, we have a long way to go in terms of, will society accept them? And what aspects of society can they support the individual to do well? And also in protection of nations as well. We'll probably see automated battleships, automated submarines. I think they're already happening. So we're still experiencing robots. But I think the key thing is, it's the intelligence, the AI within it, that we need to focus on. That is where we need to focus on. So AI itself, the robot is just one place where it exists, but it can exist in your city. In fact, multiple places in your city, in your car, in your home, right, on your watch. So we have to look at the AI, the intelligence itself, as opposed to just the robot itself. And of course, in manufacturing, robots have done a tremendous job. In distribution warehouses, Amazon use robots all the time, right, to optimize all this distribution they do of goods that you order online. So robots are coming, but we're still a long way off yet in terms of their social welcoming in things like cities or in healthcare services or in the home.
So probably then we will come with the right solution based on our experience, which will come in approximately 5 or 10 years. Our thinking and approaches will also evolve.
Yeah, exactly. And the book allows people to program Asimov's laws, to go beyond Asimov's laws. This is why culture is everything. Culture is literally everything. It takes everything. And that's why people being able to program cultural principles, or at least specify them in a city or a community or in a business or in a government, students, academia, be able to configure principles and outline principles is really important, because the Asimov's laws are really brittle, right? And they don't cover every single aspect of society. So we need to move beyond Asimov's laws, and that's what the book allows us to do.
Actually in very playable form, so every reader can think and it invokes thoughts, and it's also from my own experience of reading it, like feelings that the brain starts to distinguish many aspects even after reading, and you constantly try to apply some of these tools to compare whether it's wrong or it is positive. And in our today's lives, we can see, for instance, social credit system, which is absolutely unacceptable. Also developing robots for wars, which contradicts the Isaac Asimov principles that a robot shouldn't do harm to any person, regardless on whether it's on the battlefield or somewhere else. So here is a dilemma, and many others. But of course, it optimizes our activities and makes our life more faster, more diverse, and deficient in some way. But do you feel that there is a risk, even after we apply ethics, very positive ethics, that 1% or 0.0% would work, and we can have such scenarios in Ex Machina movie or some others, very dramatic scenarios?
Yeah, so every nation will discover its own path with artificial intelligence, or territory like the European Union, right? But they need an agility, an adaptability, because it's self-learning, right? It has to be self-learning and it has to be agile. So just because they've mandated 4 different classifications of artificial intelligence doesn't mean that that's going to be the same in 5 years' time. And I suspect what they'll find is they need to go deeper, and they're going to have to use the Alan Turing-like test and probably the AI Power 3 for the cultural principles, because they'll recognize that what they have is very brittle, and there's going to be subtle nuances within each classification, and they'll have to come back to the book at some stage. So people having an agility to pathfind your way into AI and being able to adapt is really important here, Karina, because we can't think linear here. We have to think multidimensionally. And that's important. That's part of the evolutionary mindset, right? Is the ability for people to be awakened in their and empowered in their leadership to be able to think and operate multidimensionally. And this is really important. So to answer your question, there may be problems in some nations. There may be some problems with robots. Of course, we need to appreciate that. But if we build an agile framework where we can cater for those full steps or those routes that no longer serve, and be able to move into something else that actually looks better, that's really important for any national AI strategy and AI ethics strategy: agility and adaptation.
As the idea which you mentioned in the book, in terms of multidimensional system, probably for humans with some kind of biases that could occur in terms of the need for more intelligent thinking on the big data, also based. You have mentioned the multi-level checking system, when there would be some artificial intelligence that checks and double, triple, and so forth checking to understand whether this particular AI works ethically.
Yes, so if I can interrupt you for a second, at the moment we have a black box approach, right? And a black box approach, you're probably aware, in software, it's very typical for product testing, where you kind of have a technology and you probe it with stimuli and you measure the outputs. And from that, you can garner whether it's working properly or not, or the degree it's working, right? And that's the way that AI ethics and AI is being tested now. What I'm proposing is that ethics are internal to AI, so it naturally complies. So we move beyond black box testing into an AI that automatically complies with ethics. And so we still need to do some testing, because that's important. But what we're doing is moving beyond. We're moving faster. We're actually liberating ourselves from industrial process-driven thinking into more multidimensional approach to artificial intelligence and its advancement.
You have founded the AI Ethics Academy. So what is the role of raising awareness in terms of our dealing with AI? As of course, even from the perspective of basic computer skills, cybersecurity skills, data privacy skills, even today using Alexa, we should know how it can work, and for many people, especially from some non-privileged societies, even accessing internet is a challenge. So how education can transform this whole system on the multiple levels?
Yes, so education is important, but actually there's a fundamental shift that we put in aiethics.world, is how do we bring nations, organizations, cities, communities, citizens into the conversation to shape artificial intelligence? This is important because AI at the moment is driven primarily by big tech, and by academia in ivory towers. Now, I'm not having a go at academia, but the public is not engaged. So we provide educational curriculum with our frameworks, which are world leading, for governments, organizations, communities, citizens to be able to start to shape their own constitution for artificial intelligence, start to put together their own digital border control and deployment of artificial intelligence that aligns with their cultures, their belief systems, and their values. Now, when it comes to students and innovators of tomorrow, like yourself, Karina, and the audience listening to, it's important that we guide you through this curriculum to empower you to know how to engage in the conversation, what questions to ask, and where the opportunities are to equip you to leap beyond the industrial thinking at the moment into this multidimensional mindset, to really empower you as innovators of a new tomorrow. And then the third piece is, it's important that we train people to be AI job ready. And so as part of the academy, we also have curriculum where people can go through an AI training course with some basic skills that they have first to be able to program things like deep learning. So really, it's an academy to facilitate transformation and equip the nations, the organizations, and the innovators of the new tomorrow, i.e. Karina, yourself and your audience, to lead us into that future, because I'm not going to innovate that future. It'll be you. And we need you to be empowered and to do well. So we're here to assist.
What you are doing is just great and amazing, as I believe the larger percentage of innovators in society we would have, the better we would live from all the dimensions, not only economic, social, political as well. And here in the book you've mentioned an example of Finland, which has 22% of approximately, if I'm not mistaken, 22 of people who are studying AI. So it's probably our way to make this quantum leap. How do you see this international partnership for education can work, and what is your opinion of that, how to evolve and intensify this?
Yeah, so this is great. Thank you for sharing this, Karina. So 1% of the population of Finland, which is about, I think, 55,000 persons in total, who are being trained in artificial intelligence, right? And to quote the economic minister, I'm forgetting his name now, I think it's Mika Anttila, he said, we may not be a leader in artificial intelligence, but how we program artificial intelligence, that's different. And what they're doing is they're teaching their citizens how to program AI to self-determine the future of Finland. This is world leading. It's empowerment, it's inclusive. And so this model for other nations is really, really powerful. Now, when it comes to the United States, 350 million people across lots and lots of different states. So for the US, it has to be state level in order for it to train maybe 1% of its population to be able to self-determine their future with artificial intelligence. This is a genius move. Now, Canada's slightly different. They've got 4 technology AI clusters where they're bringing together communities in an innovation ecosystem to participate in developing AI for national transformation. That's Montreal, Vancouver, Alberta, and Toronto. And that's another good model. And so places like Australia, the United Kingdom, any country in the Eastern Bloc, in fact, any country really, the 1% Finland approach really works very well. And so, but part of that, Karina, is you need a good supercomputing strategy. You need computers that are high performance, maybe even exascale, and I was on the conversation this morning about that, is having powerful computers allows us to be able to train artificial intelligence much quicker. And that needs to be available to the general public, academia, big business, small businesses, for them to have access to be able to program and train AI for their new types of AI-centric services. So thank you for bringing Finland. I notice I'm going a bit dark at the moment. So do you want me to put the lights on?
It's convenient for you.
Okay, I'll just put the lights on just a moment. Thank you. Hopefully that's a little bit better.
It's great.
Thank you.
What is interesting in terms of Finland, recently I've had the discussion with the representative of the Aalto University of Finland, and we were talking about also smart cities. So how this approach have helped to create the new cities like Espoo near Helsinki and others. So here, how the technology AI can intensify this smart transformation. You have just amazing experience working in this field, facilitating these trailblazing hubs of smart cities, also creating the first Smart Cities Alliance in the United States. Coming to the topic of smart cities, where a city or region shall start this transformation, because for some cities it's easier if they have resources, but others still want to be in touch to keep up with this trend.
Yeah, so smart cities are really important. The reason why myself and others that were very instrumental, we founded the statewide Colorado Smart City Alliance, is to bring cities that are metropolitan areas and rural areas of different sizes and demographics up together in harmony and balance, so the whole of the state transforms together. So alliances in cities are really important because those that do have the resources can help those that don't have the resources. They have the experience. They've deployed different, what I call ICT neurology, or different computing systems and different types of fiber and different types of wireless communications. They've already got sensors and technology deployed in their cities for different services, right? Transportation or air quality or whatever it may be. So there's a responsibility for those cities who are doing well to work with the other jurisdictions around them for them to all come together. And this is what we call smart region. And this is why AI is going to be so important. So in cities, what we're going to see are different. You and I have an organic body, right? We have a supercomputer, our brain. We have edge compute with its own intelligence in our heart, liver, lungs, and things like that. We have micro edge in our cells and our fingers. And all these have different levels of intelligence, but work together coherently for a comprehensive organic experience. And we're going to see the same with the house or the home of artificial intelligence. Micro edge, such as your Wi-Fi modem or your watch or your phone. Edge across in our buildings for smart buildings to optimize the sustainability and resources and make them green. In our traffic systems for transportation, we're going to see our cars and drones and automated vehicles be to be mobile edge. And then we're going to have all sorts of different data centers and supercomputers. So artificial intelligence itself will be able to exist in different levels of intelligence throughout an entire city, similar to intelligence in our bodies. You know, a little bit of intelligence on my finger, lots of intelligence, I hope, up here. So the house or the home of artificial intelligence is being built for it to be distributed. Now, what this will do is this will allow AI to operate across the edge, the micro edge, and from the supercomputers at lightning speed. So this will allow us to be able to have transportation systems that operate. We probably won't have traffic lights in 10 years' time, Karina. There'll be no traffic lights because AI will be able to control a whole regional level of transportation and will be able to move at very fast speeds because it's controlling everything. The car, so that's my Alexa, it's controlling all these fleets of cars and it's controlling all the roadways. So AI is literally going to change everything. When it comes to disasters, because we know climate is not going away until climate change, until we actually start addressing that. So when we have disasters such as flood or fire or drought or other things, intense disasters, we can deploy automated vehicles, drone assets to be on the ground very quickly be able to save lives and to be able to ensure that people are kept safe and evacuated correctly. So AI is literally going to change everything in cities. And it will become a new digital citizen. That's why I released a video before Christmas for the Smart City Miami Expo for digital citizen tests for any AI to go into a city so it aligns with their cultures, their beliefs, and their values, which is what Washington have done. So, you know, it's coming true what's written in the book. So AI will help to decide on, it will deliver public services better, federal agency services better. It will ensure that the lack of social inequity in society is addressed. It would just change the entire experience. It'll be incredible. And it'll be able to reduce carbon emissions. We'll start to see microgrids that are sustainable, solar or other types of grids come into play. We're going to change everything with AI within smart cities. And the term I came up with about 2 years ago is smartcity.ai. And we're going to start to see this as AI as a digital citizen that literally assists in complete transformation of the human experience within a city. It's going to be so different in 10 years' time. It's going to be brilliant.
Mr. Belli, whether I got it right, speaking about this interoperability city system, whether it will be hierarchical somehow or it will be decentralized, as in our brain, like brain dictates all the other organs, or how it would look like?
Yes, that's a great question. So within our body, certain organs intercommunicate, right? So, and they intercommunicate through the nervous system and blood vessels. So we'll see different types of AI, what I call neurologies, which is what you said. Will it be a centralized system? So in Africa, I was on a call this morning, in Africa, it'll probably be a centralized system where AI is running on lots of different supercomputers, but it's the mobile phone where the AI experience happens. Within developed economies, where there's more decentralization with edge compute, we'll start to see AI communicate horizontally from our cell towers, across our transportation systems, in our buildings, in our grids, in our homes, in our offices, in our healthcare, in our retail parks. It will all operate horizontally, primarily. And this will allow for lightning speed performance of services as AIs intercollaborate. The advantage of that is that it's more secure from a number of reasons. One is there's less steps for data to get to and services to get to a centralized system. There's less computing architecture. It's actually all across the edge. So that means there's less chance of what we call a man-in-the-middle attack, or also there's less chance of poor performance due to lag of telecommunication systems and computing systems. So it all operates like this. So this will reduce costs, it will increase performance, and also it will reduce lag in terms of there's been a car crash, instant response across the region. Deployment of services on the ground, over the air, moving all the transportation away from the area, deploying assets to keep everything safe. You know, that's what the edge compute's going to do. And it's going to be fascinating. So to your point, we're going to see centralized in some areas, which is fine, and decentralized in other areas, which is fine. And there'll just be different experiences, different investments, different ROI models. Now, what we'll start to see as I close here is we'll start to see AI as a service in the edge. So, you know, you go to a data center for private cloud or for your different types of cloud services, we'll start to see edge compute offer those type of services at the edge. And that is going to change the entire data center game.
It's enormously interesting, and it will probably also help to democratize this data, because for many companies, such technology as a service or clouds as service have allowed to enter markets and to evolve. And here as well, it will be like quantum leap and push.
So you've just hit a fundamental point here, thank you, is that at the moment, most of our data is stored in the cloud, right? and we don't know how our data is being used. We don't know how it's being sold and what it's being used for. If your data never goes to the cloud, but follows you across the edge in a secure vault, we've now disrupted the entire industry. And this is really important because at the moment, our data is fractured, or our digital self, Karina, is fractured behind all these different systems in government and business, and we have no control over it. That's unethical, it's unsovereign. Once we bring that data back using data ethics into your personal vault, then we can start to train your personalized AI that can follow you across the edge, guiding you based on your sovereignty in your life. And this is a game changer. So having data at the edge in your personal vault and not going to the cloud disrupts an entire set of industries.
So there is a possibility that we will have such kind of resources of volume for data storing, even in our telephone, or like a kind of other AI-based object, I would say.
Yeah, so there'll probably be in your home your secure storage of your vault, and that is your repository for data that's whenever you're moving around society physically, where it's all stored and goes to, and that will be the negotiator, if you like, for reselling your data or trading your data for services. Now, there will be a virtual vault that will naturally have to follow you around certain aspects of yourself as you're traveling and moving physically. That virtual vault will be able to ingest data, protect your data, and do negotiations on your behalf if so deemed at that moment in time. But this data vault thing is going to be huge. And so, yes, this is happening. This is your sovereignty. This is about your data sovereignty, your AI being under your control. And what it does, it protects you from invasion, from unethical services. So what that means is your data and your digital self is not only with you, but is also protecting yourself from Orwellian type of businesses and government and services that are not there for your benefit.
Mr. Bailey, whether here we can draw some analogy with blockchain technology, which is highly decentralized.
Yeah, blockchain will be part of the construction of personalized AI. So when I said that your personal vault can be located in one location, it can also be distributed using blockchain technology, of course. The problem with that is that you will need rights to all the different distributed nodes in which your blockchain is storing your technology. You'll need rights to that. And that's not a conversation I believe the blockchain industry have had. But blockchain itself could be very, very powerful. Also holochain, which is a step beyond blockchain. These can help in distribution of your digital self that's protected. But there's some conversations to have, Karina, about always having rights to the ICT in which it's all stored.
It's very interesting and very comprehensive questions. Returning to the smart cities, whether there is a difference between smart cities and smart regions in terms of transformation. You have also touched upon this topic, but which challenges may be different, whether for the country it's more somehow beneficial to start regional transformation first, or to start city transformation first, and then they will be combined in somehow in alliances or clusters, and we will have these regions.
Yes, that's a great question. So where do you start smart city? This is why alliances are so important, because the reason why smart regions are so important, Karina, is because challenges around traffic congestion, air quality, delivery of public safety, all those kind of things are not jurisdictional based, they're multi-jurisdictional based. So in order to address those problems, we need to cross jurisdictions, i.e. cities and surrounding cities need to collaborate together in a smart region initiative. What that means is they're now solving problems across all the jurisdictions in one holistic fashion, one holistic platform called Smart Region. So Smart cities is where we start. It's a bit like an Intel Inside, if you like, for your computer. And once we have our smart cities in place, then we can move to smart region, where we can share data, share other types of information in real time and also static, in order to build smart region services that are operating across the region. And that's really the only way that we're going to get past some of these huge challenges, Karina, around transportation, congestion, air quality, delivery of public safety, delivery of emergency services, and other types of resources and things like that. So it's a natural step, smart region from smart cities. And any city that isn't thinking smart region is going to be very limited in the impact it creates, and also limit its competitive advantage and limit its ability to grow beyond. So smart region, great question. That's the sweet spot. That's where we have to go.
We started our conversation with the triple model: AI for humanity, for the environment, for the planet. How here innovations can contribute to sustainability and balance these relationships. As I guess, smart cities do not always mean inclusive and environmental cities, or it's vice versa. We cannot say that the cities are smart without this environmental component.
Yeah, so the environment, if the environment does well, humanity does well. It's a no-brainer, right? I mean, am I missing something here? So we want the environment to flourish because we want citizens and society to flourish, okay? And so there's hundreds of cities that have agreed to a climate action plan with principles that they're committed to implement within their jurisdictions, and hopefully in their regional jurisdictions, to be able to create a balance with the environment. And what does this mean? It means we need to move to sustainable energy provision and delivery, solar and wind and things like that, although that's not the only answer. I think nuclear has a very strong play. But we need to move away from polluting industries like coal and things like that. Other aspects, such as we need to get our buildings sustainable and green. You know, we have the LEED standard, and Rob Watson invented all that, great guy from New York. But we need to go further, and the Biden administration is talking about this, where we reduce the carbon footprint and the carbon emissions from buildings. That's important. We need to increase electrification of our buses, our trains, our cars. We need to increase electrification because there's less emissions in the city, although emissions may happen elsewhere. There's all sorts of different things. We need carbon sequestration, Karina, where we have lots of green trees, and there's a company called City Trees that have this wonderful kind of moss type of backdrop on a bench. You may know it, and that absorbs the same carbon in this kind of this kind of bench with moss behind it as equivalent to 250 trees. So carbon sequestration is really important. Where we grow plants and food locally, they naturally sequester the carbon. You know, the way we bring our water into a jurisdiction and recycle it, that also can be an environmental step forward. There's all sorts of things we can do, but it's fundamental, Karina. We have to get the environment right. And you know, Klaus Schwab, who founded the World Economic Forum, wrote in the Time magazine, I think it was last year, when he said, we need to think about moving to people, planet, and profit as a measure of us doing well, rather than just bottom line profit at the moment. And this is the businesses and the nations that embrace this people, planet, profit approach. They are the ones that will be sustainable going into the future. They're the ones that will remain their prominence. They're the ones that will do well. The ones that don't will be seen as archaic, and people will not want to live there.
Just great. Thank you so much for this very insightful, very comprehensive and conversation, very thought-provoking for further thinking and getting this deeper knowledge in terms of AI, environmental sustainability, smart cities, I hope one day we will have the chance to have more comprehensive conversation in terms of smart cities, as I have much more questions, and keeping in mind your great experience. But as of now, I would kindly ask you, as a final point, summarizing all your amazing motivation, all your amazing knowledge, to make this a kind of a sharing motivation message for our viewers, change makers from different countries, on how to facilitate positive changes in our world, for our planet, as you've mentioned, people, profit, and planet.
Yeah, so Einstein said imagination makes the world go round. And I teach personal empowerment to people around the world, and discover your purpose. What is it you're passionate about? That creates a greater energetic vibration within you, and actually you'll do well. You'll naturally start to attract those opportunities, those people, those jobs that really align with your passions. So discover your passions and start to blog about it. Start to become a thought leader around those passions. Talk to others that are leaders and respected leaders in that area that you're passionate about. The empowerment piece and discovering your purpose, Karina, is really important. And the reason for that is because if you're truly to become a leader of a new tomorrow and help us and create something for future generations, then that empowerment, that passion will keep you going every single day through all the different challenges. As Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, it's a cyclical journey of empowerment. That will keep you going through that. And what I'll say is this: if you choose your passion, you will be surprised who comes into your life and who you get to meet. For some reason, when you're aligned with the calling of your heart or with your passions, synchronicity in life starts to happen. So discover your passions, become a thought leader, talk to others that you respect and are widely respected in the industry, and go for it. Just go for it.
Thank you for this.
And if people should buy the book, because I'll find it really inspiring. That'll be great.
Yeah.
And thank you for the opportunity, Karina. Thank you very much.